Hey guys, Serac here, and today I'm going to bring you my Cyberse-Eldlich deck. Only this time it's not the adventurer version, and it's not the version that costs huge amounts of money. No, this is a Code Talker Cyberse-Eldlich deck, utilising the brand new Decode Talker Heatsoul from Ghosts from the Past 2. So let's get into the deck. We have 3 copies of Lady Debug. This is best normal summon in the deck. Searches all of our Cyberse pieces, mainly the code monsters that allow us to link summon using them in our hands if we're summoning a Code Talker monster. So really, really good card. Massive amount of ash bait, but hopefully we get to resolve this. But other than that, it's a really, really good card and how we start off a lot of our plays. We then have 3 copies of Microcoder. Now, Microcoder, and the Coder monsters in general, allow you to, if you're summoning a Code Talker monster, you can use them as link material in the hand if the other material is a Cyberse type. And then once they're used as link material, they get an effect, or a stronger version of that effect if you use them on the field. So Microcoder allows us to search a Cynet spell or trap, if it's used from the hand, or we can search a level 4 Cyberse monster if it's used from the field. Now, this is really important because it allows us to search Cynet mining if we need to continue plays that way, or it allows us to search Cynet conflict as a big omni-negate that we can end on. Really, really important card. It's a level 1, so we can search it with 1-for-1, and it's just really, really searchable with a lot of the other cards we have in the deck. We then have 2 copies of Code Generator. This has the same link summon from the hand effect as Microcoder, and its effect is it allows us to dump a code monster from the deck to the graveyard, which we can then, something like Dotscaper, or something that has a graveyard effect that we can then use. Again, Dotscaper is the most common one, and if it's on the field, we can add that card to the hand instead, enabling us to search out cards like Microcoder. Then finally, for the code monsters that allow us to link from our hand, we have 1 copy of Code Exporter. This is the brand new card in Ghosts from the Past 2. Again, same link effect, being linked from the hand, but this one allows us to add back a monster from the graveyard, or if it's on the field, which this card barely never will be, we can special summon that monster instead. This is a nice little bit of recycling. We get to use, again, any code monster, any Cyberse monster rather, so we can reuse things like Mathmech Addition, Backup Secretary, to ensure we always have extension for further turns. For our other Cyberse extenders, we play 1 Backup Secretary as a generic special summon that we can usually access with our copy of Lady Debug. We play the 1 Mathmech Addition, again a generic, easy to make special summon, and also gives us a nice 1k boost, which may be useful if we're trying to hit OTKs with things like Update Jammer. Difficult because obviously this deck version can't play accesscode Talker because it's too expensive. Then we finally have, for our extenders, 1 Dotscaper. Really, really strong card. If it goes to the bin, you get to special summon it. If it's banished, you get to special summon it. It's searchable off everything. So, yeah, it's a free body onto the field. For the Eldlich bit, we're playing 2 copies of Eldlich, because that's the Eldlich monster in the main deck. Yeah, you know what Eldlich does at this point. You can send 1 spell trap from your hand to the graveyard, and itself send 1 card on the field to the graveyard. If it's in the graveyard, send 1 spell trap you control to the graveyard, add this card to your hand, then you can special summon it. Note, some of the plays in this deck will lock you into Cyberse monsters in your turn, so generally a lot of the Eldlich stuff wants to be done on your opponent's turn. Other than that, however, it's generally very, very flexible and very, very easy to set up the Eldlich pieces in the bin. For our hand traps, which we want to draw in with Heatsoul, we have 3 Veiler and 3 Ghost Ogre, because it's a budget deck, and we really, really want to play Ash Blossom, but it's £20 a copy! So we cannot play Ash Blossom at the moment, because it is far too expensive. So these two are the ones we are running with. 3 copies of nyhmnim, obviously an incredible card for this deck, searching every single Cyberse bar exporter, and also letting us dump Eldritch out of our hand and into the bin, where it's generally more useful. Yeah, it's an incredible card. It helps us play through things like Ash Blossom. If Lady Debug doesn't go off, it dumps Dotscaper out of the hand, so we can special summon it and start that way. It's just so flexible with the discard and just how generic it is to search. Then, for our Eldritch spell, we're playing 1 Elixir of White Destiny. Eldritch, it's a quick play, we can special summon, also, which means we can use it on our opponent's turn. Yeah, it gets it from hand or graveyard. Eldritch tends to get stuck in the hand, and this helps us get it from there if we need it, because Scarlet Sanguine can't get it out of the hand on our opponent's turn, whereas this can, and obviously we can set it off the Conquistador or the Huaquero. 2 copies of Pot of Desires. We can't play Extravagance in this deck because Heat Soul draws us cards. This deck has a lot of redundancy in it. Yes, there's a lot of one-offs, but they all fundamentally do the same thing. They're link extension to get you to Heat Soul. Desires is really, really good when you've gone through your hand and you now get to refill it, draw hand traps, draw trap cards, draw to the Eldritch package. So, yeah, and it's now at 2, so we can play 2 again. Woo! 1 Call by the Grave. Yeah, this deck really, really does not like Ash, so any way of preventing the Ash Blossom helps. And also just a free banish is really, really good in a lot of cases, especially with decks like Albaz running around. Finally, 1 for 1. This gets us our microcoder. Again, it dumps Dotscaper, it dumps Eldritch out of our hand. It just puts those level 1s in rotation, allowing us to use their effects consistently each turn. And again, helps bait the Ash Blossom. For the trap cards, we have 3 copies of Elixir of Scarlet Sanguine. Again, you probably know what this one does by now. It special summons Eldritch from deck or graveyard. Then, after this card resolves, you can only special summon zombie monsters. If it's in the graveyard, banish this card from the graveyard, set 1 golden land. Again, the whole way the Eldritch spells loop within each other is what allows the deck to keep up in the gride game. We're then playing 3 copies of Conquistador. Conquistador special summons itself as a normal monster, zombie light, level 5. And then if you control Eldritch, you can destroy 1 face-up card you control. Again, Conquistador, chain Scarlet Sanguine, not the other way round. It checks if you control Eldritch on resolution of its effect. So you need to chain the Scarlet Sanguine to the activation of Conquistador, not the other way round. Otherwise, Conquistador will resolve, and then you won't have an Eldritch, and then you will be sad. And it makes a level 5 monster, which allows us to make Constellar Pleiades. Same with Huaquero. Huaquero instead allows us to banish a card from the graveyard, has a little bit more attack, which can be useful, and again, also gives us access to Constellar Pleiades, and these allow you to set the Eldlixirs from your deck, again, which allows you to set Scarlet Sanguine or White Destiny. For our Floodgate, we're playing 3 Summon Limit. Now, I was debating Summon Limit or Tikaboo, but Tikaboo conflicts with the way you want to set up your Cyberses the turn after, and to make things like update jam or OTKs, and also means you can't use things like Conquistador or Huaquero as interruptions as effectively, because you can't have Eldritch on the field, and you can't activate them with an Eldritch on the field. So I went with Summon Limit instead, because most of the time our interruption on our opponent's turn will be Scarlet Sanguine plus Conquistador or Scarlet Sanguine plus Huaquero, and also locking our opponent into 2 summons when they've committed to the board is really, really funny. So that's what we've gone for. And then the final card of the main deck is one Cynet Conflict. This is an incredibly powerful Omni-Negate. Spell, trap, or monster effect activated while you control a Code Talker monster. Note, it can be one of the Link 2s if you cannot climb to Link 3. You can negate the activation, banish that card, and your opponent cannot activate cards or effects of cards with the same original name. This card is absolutely incredible. It does so much for the deck. It locks your opponent out, it's searchable, it hits every single type of effect. It's just a phenomenal counter card for this deck that we can use. For our extra deck, we are playing 2 copies of Decode Talker Heatsoul. Heatsoul allows you to gains 500 attack for each monster it points to. Then you can pay 1,000, draw 1 card, then if your life points are 2,000 or less, apply this effect. Banish this card from the field, special summon 1 Link 3 or lower Cyberse monster from your deck, except itself. So, Heatsoul is allowing us to draw an extra card on every single turn. That includes your opponent's at the cost of 1,000 life points, which is nothing when you're drawing extra hand traps, refilling your hand. And then, near the end of the game, it can tag out and make... S-Force Justify. S-Force Justify is a quick effect monster negate that we can obviously tag out into, and very useful in that regards. And also can be very, very funny if your opponent sets up a large board that has no protection against non-targeting banish. Also note, that activates in the damage step as well. But yes, S-Force Justify is the main target we have for tagging our Decode Talker Heatsoul into. Our next card is a copy of Transcode Talker. Our basic combo sets up Transcode, Decode, and then hopefully some set back row. Fingers crossed, that's the idea behind the deck. Obviously, Transcode, very, very good, allowing you to continually extend through your Cyberse monsters. Remember, Transcode locks you into Cyberse monsters if you activate its effect, so you cannot use Eldritch stuff that turn. And it's not for the rest of the turn, it's that turn. But this plus Update Jammer plus Heatsoul is very, very easy to hit OTKs with the extra boost that this card gives. 2 copies of Splash Mage, incredibly generic, wonderful Link 2 that summons back one of its materials that you used. It's also water, which is really important for Decode Talker Heatsoul because that requires 2 different attributes. And this is the only water monster we're playing in the deck. So this guarantees us access to Heatsoul as long as we have enough Cyberse monsters. 1 Update Jammer for OTKs, because making Update Jammer into Transcode Talker is funny. And it would be really, really nice if we could use this to go into accesscode Talker, but unfortunately we can't in this deck because it's too expensive. If you have the budget, or have, even better still, an accesscode Talker, that's definitely the first thing to add to this deck. 1 Security Dragon, again another nice Link 2, very, very generic, and gives us some nice removal options on later turns of the game. We then have our 2 Link 2 Code Talkers, 1 Code Talker and 1 Code Talker inverted. The text is borderline irrelevant on these. Code Talker's a little bit more generic, which means we can make it with Eldritch if we need to, and is a dark. Code Talker inverted has a special summon effect if you can make something point to it, or rather if you have empty zones that it points to, because it can only summon to those zones, and is a light. These are in here as your main targets for your microcoder, your code generator, your code exporter, because they're Link 2s that you can therefore summon using those cards from your hand. And we need both of them so we don't get stuck linking into a dark when we only have access to a dark in our hand to go into the Heatsoul, because Heatsoul requires 2 different attributes. 1 Almirage, sometimes you have to normal summon a hand trap to get going. If you open something like a microcoder and an effect veiler as your starters, you therefore have to normal summon the effect veiler, make Almirage, and then make your plays off that. It's not the best, but we have to play it because of situations like that, where we draw too many hand traps rather than cards we want to normal summon. One Lingarebo, very, very good generic link 1 for Cyberse decks. Gives us a trap negate if we need it, going second, which can help, and also prevent things like evenly matched if we leave it on the field. We're not making this every game, but it is very, very useful should we need it. Then finally, the extra deck package for the Eldritch side. We have one Constellar Pleiades, allowing us to bounce cards from the field. We're using our trap normal monsters that are level 5 light monsters. Very, very useful there, and also gives us much needed attack boost for things like Conquistador, which only has 500 attack normally, and it's a quick effect interruption. Then we have one Gustav Max for burning for 2k damage, and just for being a big Chungus. And then when we need an even bigger Chungus, we have one Juggernaut Liber, which obviously allows us to gain lots more attack, and then it can attack all monsters, depending on how many Xyz materials it's got. So usually 2 or 3 attacks. So that is Heatsoul-Eldlich. Now, it's an interesting deck. It's very, very control heavy, obviously. It needs a good parity between traps and hand traps to work optimally. But I think it's definitely something that can be experimented with, and it's really, really cheap, thanks to all the reprints. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that deck. It's a little bit different to a lot of things that I post on this channel, and I've not seen anyone else post anything quite like it, so I really, really hope you enjoyed that deck. Anyway, like, subscribe, and share the video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you again soon. Thanks for watching.